Miracle for Jen begins with a nightmare that her mother Linda writes seemed unending. But the Barrick family from Virginia, 5.5 years after being struck by a drunk driver less than a mile from home, is living hope out loud. That's the name of their family ministry. It's encouraging people in the midst of tragedy and disappointments. For Jennifer in particular, who suffered a traumatic brain injury, it is a life that is above and beyond her parents' dreams. In this segment from Johnny and Friends TV, Jennifer's grandmother reflects on the night that forever changed their lives.
Jen's grandfather, Dr. Heinzen, was speaking that night. But more importantly, Jen was singing in the high school choir.
They were singing the song about the names of God. And it was one of those stand up to your feet type songs.
Jennifer was in the choir for the very first time, and this was her first choir concert, so she was so excited. I remember videoing Jennifer too as she sang, and she was radiating so much, and it was unbelievable to watch her, and I felt so proud as a mom just watching her praise the Lord and excited. Everything in her life was going perfectly. Jen was so excited about singing in the concert because she loved singing this song, this new song that she had learned, Lord, You're Holy. And I'll never forget, Jen is smiling and praising the Lord, and all of a sudden Megan smiles at one point, and I think Jen squeezed her hand right at her favorite part where it says, "You are my healer, deliverer, shield and defense, strong tower and my best friend." And it wasn't just a song to her. She was having the time of her life, praising her Lord. There aren't words to describe you. When I think back, it's so hard because she had no idea what the rest of that night was, what was going to happen.
Liberty Christian High School. You were 15 then, Jen.
Yes.
You're 20 now. And I think it's fair to say you seem to be enjoying that more than anyone else in the choir. Why was that song, Lord, You Are Holy, so special?
Well, I just love that song because it spoke to my heart in so many different ways, but I think I loved it the most because God is some of everything, and He promises to come to your rescue and to meet you right where you are at.
Really, at that point in the journey,
Yes.
the Barrick family hadn't had any significant trials. Is it fair to say that, Linda?
We had had, you know, a few bumps in the road, a few things here and there, but nothing that was traumatic and nothing that had impacted our whole family like the wreck did.
You alluded to this in the last segment. One of the biggest challenges for you was to accept God's plan.
Yes.
Out of this tragedy.
I think for probably a year or two, I was in denial because we were praying and begging God to heal Jennifer. And in my mind, that meant heal her to who she was before. And because she was praising God that night and singing praise songs, and I was leading prayer groups at Bible study and in my home, and we thought the Lord's got some huge plan for Jen, and He spared her life. He's praying through her in the hospital. She's praying things she doesn't know, and so we thought that miracle was going to happen that week or the next month, and I didn't want to admit that there was a long journey. And I'll never forget, in the hospital they put a book in the room, in Jennifer's room, that talked about brain injury and what it was, and when I would pick it up to read it, I couldn't even read a page, and I would throw it down and say, no, my God is all powerful, and that is not going to be Jen. I didn't want to hear that she would never be the same person again. I didn't want to hear that it would take years for us to even know what the permanent damage was. And so I think denial denial was my way of coping, and yet we prayed in faith, believing. My hope was in the Lord. I knew He was all-powerful. I knew He could heal her if He wanted to. And I think the hardest thing was I was worried that I was going to be disappointed with the Lord. And I'll never forget, after Jen came home from the hospital, one day I'm having this struggle, the mental battle in my mind with the Lord, and not even out loud. And Jen comes around the corner and she says, even if God has disappointed you, you know, don't you give up on God. He is not finished yet. So it's almost like she could read my mind. Or,
God's little prophet.
Yes, God's little prophet came around the corner and said, even if you think God has disappointed you, He has not, because He is not done. Wow. And if He could do more, why wouldn't He? Yes. And I think what I've really learned now after 5.5 years is our perspective is so different. We want our earthly perspective, our humanly perspective, we think that that means God's blessing means our comfort here on this earth. But really, God's perspective is for His glory and for eternity, who we can impact for eternity. And Jennifer has God's eternal perspective. I believe she was in His presence and she experienced part of, yes, we will see how she saw a glimpse of His glory. And so she knows this life is not all there is.
I think what makes it hard from a mom's perspective is that, Jen, your grade 9 year was over the top. It was a stellar year. We have some pictures, just some highlights of your accomplishments. What are the trophies for there?
I won 2nd place in the national tournament for CCA, Christian Cheerleaders of America. It was a competition that my high school competed at.
Varsity soccer?
Yes. She played varsity soccer. She was in a junior Miss pageant, and she got to proclaim Christ to thousands of people for the first time, and we were just amazed that there's Jennifer. God allowed her to do everything, go to a formal banquet, have a boyfriend, just
and an A
everything.
student.
A straight A student, yes.
Just, it's a lot to leave behind.
Yes.
Yes.
So in a second, she had everything taken from her.
This is so hard in the opening chapters, but in every chapter, there's a note from your journals.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's the light in the tunnel, the little goosebump that stirs your heart. I think there's something else going on here.
Right.
And Jen, I understand that, can you recite the one I really would love for our viewers to hear is quite lengthy, and you wrote this 2 months before the accident, August 21st, 2006. Can you tell us what you wrote?
I would love to. I titled it, Anything is Possible with You, Lord. And I said, wow, it's crazy how time flies. And this year, Lord, I don't want to blend in, because I know that I was born to stand out. To stand alone? Well, maybe, if that's what it takes. This life that I now live is not mine, but yours. It's yours to do with as you please. So pretty much, Father, I'm just begging you to take this year in my life and allow your glory to shine. Please take it and use it to its fullest potential. Your faithful servant, Jen.
If you can imagine, Jennifer was still in the hospital, and she's singing praise songs and talking to God, but she doesn't know she's hurt, so I can't even hug her and have a real conversation with her. And so I begged my father to take me back to our house, because I knew if I could get to Jen's bedroom that she had written journals to the Lord, and I thought surely there has to be something there, some answer. And I found this journal hidden under her bed in this old Victorian box, and I read it and I just wept and wept. And what God was saying to my heart is, Linda, with me there are no accidents. In Psalm 139, he tells us in his word that all our days were ordained before one of them ever came to be. And God knew what was going to happen to Jennifer on November 5th, 2006, and he had prepared her heart ahead of time, and she was so surrendered to him, and just unbelievable to find that. In fact, I tore it out. I kept it with me. I took it to the hospital. I was showing everybody. It just gave me that little piece of hope that God had a plan to use her beyond her wildest dreams.
Well, I have been very challenged. I think I have said more than once in my life, Lord, anywhere, anytime, at any cost. Yeah. But reading Jen's journal notes, begging God to use her to the ultimate, whatever that meant, yeah. I'm not sure. Yeah. I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, thank you.
It was a delight to God's heart to hear it. And I just want to say, as we close this segment, so much more to come. That, Jen, you were a person who won trophies. Now you are a trophy of His grace. And we have so much more to tell. It's all in here. I don't know how long it took you to write this, Mom.
A couple years.
Yeah? Yes. All the details, all the perspectives. So much. Your heart will be ignited to a new place above and beyond where you are in your faith. I can guarantee it. Here's how to get your copy.
Jennifer Barrick was a beautiful, bright 15-year-old girl who was passionate about sharing the love of Jesus that she had found. She recorded intimate journals reflecting her deep desire to lay down her life for God, even if it meant she had to stand alone. A couple months later, the Barrick family was struck by a drunk driver, leaving Jen in a coma for 5 weeks. When she awoke, Jen didn't recognize her family, didn't know how to brush her teeth or what to do with a shoe. But she remembered scriptures and every word to every praise song that she had hidden away in her heart before the accident. As friends and family would gather to worship in the hospital, Jen would see Jesus there among them, and she would reaffirm her commitment to do whatever He wanted her to do. Prayers for total healing were petitioned by many, but a loving God had something else in mind. Instead of making her normal, God is making Jennifer and the whole Barrick family extraordinary. They are living above their circumstance, beyond their own strength, and in the fullness of Christ as they trust in Him. Miracle for Jen is our thanks to you as you partner with us. We invite you today to become a Crossroads Foundation member with a monthly pledge of $30, a Builder member at $60 a month, or a Crossroads Council member at $100 per month. To receive your copy, call 1-888-288-0003 with your membership pledge or special gift. You can also write us or visit crossroads.ca.